Hello folks, back again, this time with an unboxing. Today I have in front of me a Seikoholic's Dream. If you follow Seiko watches, you'll know exactly what this reissue is and what it may mean to someone who collects Seiko watches like I do. This watch was first mentioned in Baselworld 2019. Special shout to Mark from Long Island Watches, who actually came back from Basel and put an email out with some of the greatest releases or notifications from the major watch manufacturers. And this one was one of the ones that he mentioned. I'm talking about the Seiko SNJ025, or more commonly known as the Arnie. Now, this is a reissue of a Seiko classic that was reissued back in 1982. And Seiko decided to listen to me with all the emails that I sent and on all the forums that I commented and all of the other Seiko diehards who suggested that this would be an ideal watch to reissue. Now, I know Seiko does things in years that end in zero, so on the 10th, 20th, 30th year anniversary of sorts, they reissue classic watches. They did that with the SLA 033, which is the Willard. They actually re-released that watch. But enough talking. Let me unbox this watch so that everyone can see in all its glory exactly what it is. Now, you have to bear with me, my orientation, because I'm actually using my phone. Comes in a very generic and sterile Seiko box, and there it is. There it is, the Seiko SNJ025. This is a gorgeous watch. My wife actually gifted this watch to me for my birthday this year. And even though my birthday is in July, I told her that the watch, according to Mark, wouldn't be released until late August, early September. I got an email notification last week, Monday, that it was available, but it sold out before I could even log on to Long Island Watch to purchase it. The watch had sold out. And I contacted Mark. He told me not to worry. He was getting more in, and I set myself up for an alert. And Thursday of last week, he sent out another email saying that they were back in stock. But this time I was ready, was on my game, was able to order one. And it actually was delivered to me yesterday. So I've had a chance to look at this watch. I took it out. It's raining here in New York City, so please bear with me. The watch comes in a very nice cushioned, has a nice pillow. And let me take it off. I have a few watches in the background, but we'll get to that in a minute. And here you have it. Wow, what a beautiful watch. Nice, soft strap that doesn't look like it's going to collect dust, unlike the other ones. Made in China, but we can forgive them for that. Who cares? Analog and digital readouts. The Luma Bright is very nice. The pushers work very interestingly. They actually work in the opposite of what you would expect when you're setting the time. It has a very interesting function, whereas when it's in power save mode, it will actually shut off if it's not directly involved with any sort of natural or artificial light. But as soon as it is exposed, it will catch up to what the current time is. It's really cool. I took it out the box before I was able to actually show how that works. But this is an amazing, amazing watch. I'll get into the specs. It's almost about, I would say, 48 millimeters. Tip to tip, it's about 50 millimeters on the lug. but it wears quite nicely on the wrist. It's not overpowering, it's not too big because the lugs are so short. So if you have a average size wrist, it won't be a problem at all. This watch was first issued in 1982, like I said, as the H558. Now, if you're familiar with action movies, you'll understand exactly why this watch is referred to, or its predecessor was referred to, as the Arnie. Arnold Schwarzenegger actually, in some of the most iconic action films, wore his personal Seiko H558 on his wrist while filming Commando and Predator. And from that observation, Seiko diehards started referring to that version of the watch as the Arnie. It was the first hybrid diver that combined an analog and digital display. It had an alarm, it was a chronograph, of course, and it was just an amazing watch. There were some things that people didn't like. The shroud in particular was very susceptible to breaking, and that there was also the spacing that most people didn't like. And I thought to myself that with the advances in technology with Seiko, that this would be the ideal watch for them to reissue, because they have the technology, they can make the shroud better, they can do a lot of different things, they can put a sapphire crystal if they wanted to. And what Seiko did was they listened. They actually listened to all the people, and they just thought it was a good idea. But the difference in this watch and the original is that they are using a solar movement, and that makes it, in my opinion, much better, because you don't have to worry about the mechanics of an automatic mechanical watch. You don't have to worry about it being quartz, which the first original was, and it having to worry about battery. They made a better shroud. They made the pushers different, and they also have a countdown timer, a countdown power indicator. I stand corrected. A power indicator that's countdown, and they made the keeper a little bit different. Now, I personally would have preferred a different kind of keeper than the one that they've supplied with this particular watch. But you can't have everything. I'm just glad that they reissued it. It's a stunning watch. It's an amazing watch. And if you grew up watching those action movies, you already know. I think when Seiko did that by adding the analog and digital display, they opened up the idea for companies like Casio, Breitling. I think Tissot actually has watches that combine those two features, and they pretty much set the mark for these watches being made. Now, this watch was actually tested on Mount Everest and the North and South Poles, so you know it can definitely withstand any street wear. It's a diver's watch, rated to 200 meters, so it's certified for scuba diving. The solar technology is another thing that makes it really cool. And Seiko actually deserves a lot of credit for reissuing this watch. Now, interestingly enough, what I had done is I looked on the internet for years for a Seiko Arnie, and I saw a few of the original, and people were asking upwards of $1,000 for that watch. And there were people that were actually willing to purchase it, even if the condition wasn't ideal. The watch wasn't in great condition. Can you imagine if you spent $1,000 on a H558, the original Arnie, and in a really bad condition, only to find out that in a few months Seiko was going to reissue that watch, better technology, slightly bigger, better in a lot of different ways from the original, after you spent $1,000 and they are asking at least half of that retail price? I myself would have lost my mind. I'm glad that I did not purchase any of the watches that I saw, and that I just waited. In my mind, I always knew that Seiko would actually reissue this watch. I did not have a doubt. The question was when. Now, as it relates to action movies, Seiko has been around in some of the best action movies ever produced. Another one of those movies was Alien. And from the movie Alien, you get the Ripley watch, which was a watch that Sigourney Weaver wore in the film, and a lot of Seiko fans started referring to it as the Ripley watch. That watch was designed by Giugiaro. Big shout to TGV for actually putting me on to that particular watch. And I looked on the internet for that watch as well. Couldn't find it anywhere, and the ones that I did see weren't in great condition, or the person was asking so much for the watch that I just decided not to get it. And I waited, and lo and behold, I got an email from GNOMON suggesting that Seiko had reissued a Giugiaro that was slightly different from the original, in the sense that the strap is rubber. As you can see, these are two Giugiaros, and the crown is on the left side of the watch, but it's much better than that original. Now, if I could get my hands on the original for nostalgic purposes, I would definitely buy it. But these are, again, two Seiko watches that were made popular in action films that Seiko was a part of. This watch on the left actually belongs to me, and I actually purchased one for my wife, which is this gold tone one. She actually loves this watch. I can't blame her. I got these watches from GNOMON and Singapore, and I would have bought these watches from Long Island Watches, but for some odd reason, GNOMON was exclusively selling these watches. You really couldn't get them anywhere else, and you want to spread the love too. But I bought this watch with me today for all to see how Seiko watches actually makes it into action films, and they become highly regarded. I also bought along today two other watches, and those are the Lowercase edition, or at least the one on the left, which this watch actually happens to belong to my wife as well. I purchased this watch for her, hoping that she'd go easy on me when I purchased this Seiko SNJ025 for myself. Now, these watches, I bought them today because they employ a solar movement as well. 6 months they last on a charge. Mine happens to be analog, whereas my wife's, I actually got this watch for her as a digital watch because at the time she was having issues with understanding how automatic watches work, and I was finding that sometimes the crowns weren't all the way screwed in, and I started to panic and realized that, you know what, maybe a digital watch would be better. And she actually loves this watch. She wears it quite often. It was a design with Lowercase and Seiko, a collaboration. The keeper is different from the SNJ025, which I'll show you in a minute. I can't remember the actual model number for that one, but I bought them along, like I said, simply to show how the movements are both solar, and it actually mirrors the reissued Arnie. I really wish that Seiko had went with this particular keeper with the Seiko logo on it. I'll show you that Arnie again in a second. That would have been actually nice. You see the buckle. Seiko is really weird. You never know how the keepers are going to look, or what they're going to do different, and how they're going to slightly modify it. I love this watch. It's a tuner. It has a tuner design, so it has a shroud, which is another reason why I bought it, so that you can compare that to the Arnie as well. But as you can see on the Arnie, it does not have, the keeper is different. It doesn't have the sign Seiko emblem on it. It does have it on the underside, but the keeper is different. I think that they would have done a better job if they would have put, I would have actually preferred, I might actually change this. I don't think I'm going to change the strap, because it's very nice and subtle. I really like the way it feels. It's different from the 498. This one collects a lot of dust, and it's like a lint magnet. But I wish Seiko had done it differently. I'm glad that I went for the Seiko Arnie that is regular stainless steel, because from a distance you think that this is a regular tuner until you get up on it and see that there's an analog and digital readout. Thanks again to Wifey for purchasing this watch for me for my birthday. Absolutely love her to death. And also to Mark for alerting me that the watch was going to be issued, and also when it actually came back in stock. If you love Seiko watches, if you have Seiko watches, if you've got a tuner, if you've got a SKX 007, 009, if you've got a Sumo, if you definitely should consider having this as part of your collection. I can tell you, you won't be disappointed. This is an amazing watch, and definitely you could probably get away with wearing this with a suit. Although it probably would be better like on casual Fridays, weekend, or scuba diving. I don't wear my watch in around water, even though these are ISO rated. But you will definitely love this watch. Wow. What an amazing watch. I say that about all my watches, but this watch, I waited so long. I had a feeling that Seiko was definitely going to reissue this. So again, if you like the review, if you have anything that you'd like to add, please comment, subscribe to the channel. I would really love to hear any feedback that anyone may have on these Seiko watches. The Giardo, very nice indeed. Can't go wrong with that. In either blue or gold. I think I'm going to do a video on all of my Seiko watches, especially the ones that I've actually modded. Because I've modded quite a few Seiko watches myself to look like Doxas. I've modded a couple of SKXs, and that'll probably be my next video. Oh, customary watch check today. Hitting them with the Explorer 2 on a BluShark strap. Very nice indeed. Shout to Joe and Christine and the rest of the crew at BluShark. Again, special thanks to Mark from Long Island Watches. I know he has these watches in stock. And I hope you enjoyed the video.